In this video, I'm going to just give you an idea about how you might think about solving the Scratchel Mission 1 Moon Escape task. So remember what we have to do first of all. Scratchel's in the bottom left hand corner of the screen, the mothership's in the top right. Your task essentially is just to navigate Scratchel safely around the surface of the moon without touching any of the craters. So you can have to create an algorithm. Remember, an algorithm is just a way of solving a problem. It's a set of instructions to get something done, which will take Scratchel back to the spaceship without touching any of the craters. We should only use motion bricks, which are the blue ones, which involve movements, turning things around, rotating things. And we are only allowed to press the space button once, so all of our movement commands must fall underneath this when space key pressed brick. Okay. There are a number of ways we can do it, but we advise using the change x by and change y by bricks and possibly the repeat loop. So let's think about it. If we could tell Scratchel what to do using by speaking to him, we would tell him to move up in some way, then to move across, then to move up again, and then to move across. So let's look at how we might actually do that within Scratch. So first of all, we're going to be using the motion bricks, as we know, and we've got lots of different motion bricks, and they all do slightly different things. In this one, in this task, we've been advised to use the change x by brick and the change y by brick. So I'm going to drag those out first of all, change x by and change y by. Now if you're not sure what x and y actually means, behind Scratch, right in the middle of the screen, we have essentially, which is a graph going across the way. So the x-axis goes across from left to right, and the y-axis goes across the middle from the top to the bottom. Right in the middle, we have the coordinates 0, 0. That's right in the middle of your screen. And how it works is if we want to move any sprite or element or game or animation or whatever it is we're creating in Scratch to the right, we must change x by a positive number. If you look down here, you can see this shows you the actual x and y location of the mouse pointer. If I go back to round about the middle and start moving to the right, you'll see that it actually increases. Okay, so whenever we change x by a positive value, it moves from left to right. Whenever I start moving the mouse the other way, you'll see that x begins decreasing. So whenever we want to move a sprite from the right to the left, we want to change x by a negative value. Eventually you'll see that the x value goes over to minus 240. Okay, and similarly with y, if we want to move up the screen, remember 0, 0 is about here, we change y by a positive value as we go from the bottom of the screen up the ways, and if we want to move down the ways, we need to change y by a negative value. You can see the value of y again there down here is decreasing as we move down the screen, and again eventually it will come to a negative number, and it finishes about minus 180 is the actual bottom of the screen. Okay, so how are we going to solve it? So first of all, we want Scratchel to go up, so hopefully by now we should see that we want to change y in some way. So let's try change y by 10, and remember we can only press spacebar once, so let's see what happens when we do that. Yeah, so it moves up slightly, but again there's a few different ways we can go now. We know that 10 isn't enough, so we could go to change y by, let's try 40. Press the green flag to reset the game, and it has moved up now. In terms of movement, it has moved up to about the right place, but it doesn't look very good when we actually play the game. Okay, it jumps up. So what we can do to get around that is we can use things called loops, and how they work basically is they will repeat an instruction either indefinitely throughout the game. If we use it for everyone, it will repeat at all times throughout the game. So we'll just try that and show how that works. You'll see that will just continuously change y by 40. Let's see what happens. It's very fast, and you will hear the funny noise there. That's because Scratchel is touching the craters and it's sending back to the start. So it's much too fast. So let's try it by 1 just to show it again. So we're going to change the value in the change of y. And you'll see that it's moving Scratchel up at all times during the game, but whenever he's hitting the crater, he's getting sent back to the start. So a forever loop isn't particularly good for us in this occasion. If we had to just move him straight up the screen, that would be fine. We could we could use a forever loop to move them in the one direction. But in this case, it's not suitable, so I'm going to delete that by right clicking and selecting delete. And what we can use instead, and which is probably more suitable for this type of scenario, is using the repeat loop. So I'm going to change the value of, we'll just try it as it is. We're going to change, so when the space key is pressed, we're going to repeat 10 times the command change y by 1, which will essentially, if we multiply 10 by 1, will move Scratchel up 10 points on the y-axis. So if we press the green flag, press space, again, he moves up. And we said at the start it was about 40, we needed him to move up. We worked that out from the start. It wasn't far off where we needed to be. So if I change the repeat now to 40, we can go green flag and we can move him up. So that moves him up. You might think he's moving very slow, so you might want to change the value of, well actually we'll just keep it like that and I'll explain what I meant by that in a few minutes. So we've moved them up, now we might want to start moving them across to the right, and again I'm going to stick with the repeat loop. I'm going to stick with the same, oh don't want it in there, I'm going to stick with the same style of, same amount of movement, so I'm going to change x by 1. Okay, this might make it easier. And again, if that's 40, I reckon about 40 will take us over to about here. So I'm going to change the value of the repeat loop again to 40. Obviously, the more times we run the repeat loop, so if I change it to 80, it will move twice as far as it will with the value of 40 inside it. So press the green flag again. Now if I press space, you see it moves across. Now at this point, you'll see if we keep on going, so if I change that to 70, I think Scratchel is probably going to hit the creator and get sent back to the start. Yeah, so we know that 70 is too much, so we might change it, for instance, to 50. We can't keep it at 40, but we want to work out what gets us close to the creator without actually hitting it. So green flag to start the game again, move across. You'll see that gets us to roughly where we want to be. We know now if we keep on moving across to the right, so if I run that repeat loop again, Scratch is going to hit this creator. So again, we need to move them up the ways. At this point, I might duplicate the code that I've got already. I might place it over to the side, and I might use these to drag and drop in what I actually need just by adjusting the value. So I know I need them to go up, so I'm going to change y by, I'm going to use this brick. I know if I move him up 40, I think he's probably going to hit this again, so I would probably change that to about 20. Let's see how we go on first of all. Is he going to hit it? Yeah, hits it, gets sent back to the start, so we need to change the value of 40. We don't want to run that repeat loop 40 times. Let's try 20, see where that puts us. Yeah, that puts us in a good position. We can now go straight across to the right, and we don't need to worry about changing until possibly we get about here. Are we going to move Scratchel underneath, or are we going to move him over the top? So that's just an introduction to the sort of skills you might use in this task to move Scratchel from the bottom of the screen up to the mothership. Obviously, you can change the values of the different held within the different bricks, but you do want to make sure that the animation or the movement of Scratchel looks smooth. And what I mean by that is this. Let's say we change the value of from 1 to 5, and instead of, it was 40 times 1, so it's going to be 8 times 5. We're going to run the repeat loop 8 times, which will move the same distance, but it's not going to look as smooth, I don't think. It's actually not so bad. Let's try it again. Let's try, so we're going to do 2 movements of 20. See, he's just going to jump up now. It's not going to look as smooth. It's not particularly good. What we can do is in between each of the repeat loops, we can put in a short wait if we feel that we need to, and this can be good at just making the animation appear more a little more smoothly. So let's just change that to 0.2 of a second, and it just gives a little bit of time in between the actual changes to the Y value, which can help us see it more clearly. Let's just change up to 1 second to see how that affects it. So you can see that it is waiting a bit more time between its actually before it actually changes the value of y. So that's just a short introduction and some ideas on how you might go about solving Scratchel without touching any of the craters.